Okay, welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to talk about how your staff answers the phone. And I will tell you, this is a work in progress at all times. Even though we have a very tight script, which is attached below, it is something that your team member, your staff member really needs to learn how to ebb and flow with. So it really is a skill per se, but it's definitely a skill that can be developed over time. And this script is the starting point. And I have to tell you, with any team member and yourself included, sometimes these scripts have to be revisited often to make sure people are sticking to them. And we make our team revisit them frequently, especially if there's anywhere near a breakdown, because I don't like that. So what happens is when a person calls, our team member takes control of the conversation. And of course, it's in a nice and conversational manner. But as you can imagine, many times people call and they say, is your service covered by insurance? We do not answer that question. We will eventually answer that question, but it's not the first question we answer. Why? Because if we tell someone no, they might be likely to hang up. And we don't want that. We want them to want their brain map so much that even though we do not file insurance for them, and when they file insurance themselves, it's not likely that it's going to be covered, they want the brain map anyways, which is why we need to move them through this process. And you'll see the script below. But again, it has to be conversational. So our team member takes control of the conversation and asks the person if they're calling for themselves or for a loved one, and they tell them, well, I'll talk to you about insurance in just a minute, but are you calling about yourself or a loved one? Then they say, what is your greatest concern? What are you calling about? And that person will tell them just a little bit. I will tell you, sometimes there's people who call who want to tell you their entire life story. So your team member has to be skilled at grabbing that conversation back and moving that person through to the next talking point. You will also see in the script that if a person is nowhere near ready to commit, then we just move them on and say, it sounds like you're not ready to come in for a brain map yet. Would you like to come in for a consultation? And we offer free consultations, but the person has to put a $100 deposit down to come in for a consultation. That way they are committed. I will not be stiffed. I won't sit around and have a person who's going to come for a consult and not show up. So it doesn't happen. And then that keeps me confident and it keeps the people committed. You're right, it may have less people coming into your office, but you don't have to sell people when they come in. You're actually consulting with them and it changes it. And that's the way that I like to do it. And you'll love doing it that way too. But preferably they're coming in for their brain map immediately. So in the phone script, if a person's ready to come in for the brain map, we always tell them when we're offering the brain map at $80 off, that it's $80 off, so it's a great time to commit to it, which is just about always in my office. We basically always run the $80 off offer. We do hold it back a few weeks a year so that it remains an offer and I remain in integrity. But if the person is not ready to come in for the brain map, we send them our decision guide, which is below. We used to call it the welcome packet, and we've changed it to a decision guide. And it's the same information, but we say, okay, so if you are not ready to come in for your brain map yet, let me send you some more specific information that can help you make your decision if our office feels like a good fit for you. And that's our goal, is to have people come in that it's a good fit. And that feels good to people because you'll see every step through this process, it's a takeaway sale for me. I'm not trying to convince people to work with me. I am eager to work with people who want to work with me. And I suggest you approach it that way too. So then we send them the decision guide via email, and we have a prospective patient spreadsheet that we keep in Google Docs so it can be shared by all of us, that my team members write down what transpired in the phone call, if the decision guide was sent, and where they are in the process, because we need to follow up with them again. They are put into our email list so they get the emails that I sent out that are just fun and engaging, the success stories or the brain tips. And then that way they are still engaged with our office, and we launch them the offers if they don't want to come in anytime soon. I will tell you, most people come in because they feel good about that whole process and they want a brain map because that's why they called in the first place. Okay, so use that script Do not let a person keep your team member on the phone for a half hour. And when I talk about, people going off the reservation in terms of using the script, that is what happens. And it just happened a few weeks ago where my front desk person answered the phone and she's listening to a woman's story for too long of a time frame, and then she's rolling her eyes in her head. And I walk by as I see her doing this, and I'm like, wrap it up, that's my parents' symbol for wrap it up from when I was a kid, which I actually forgot about to this moment. But I tell her, wrap it up. And when she got off the phone, I said to her, what is with the eye rolling and the long phone call? Oh, well, she was telling me. I said, you know better. Get that script out and revisit that script, because you control that conversation very lovingly. You don't sit there becoming frustrated because you have to listen to someone's story, which you don't. You're able to grab the reins back on that conversation nicely and move people through our process. I will tell you that woman did come in, but she wasn't ready to commit in that phone call. So if she's not ready, we move her on to it sounds like you're not ready to commit part of the script. Okay, so check that script out, have your team practice it. It feels good to be able to do it. In the decision guide are the codes for neurofeedback and for brain mapping. So we tell people, we send the decision guide to everyone. That way they have the codes and the information that they need. But this way, especially a person who's not ready to commit. Okay, so stay tuned because we're going to talk about the next step in the office process in the next lesson.